You know, something just occurred to me. Would you like to hear it? Go for it, Judge. Hmm? Oh yes, by all means. There's a security camera in boarding lounge 1. Right, the one that recorded the victim and the defendant. I was gonna say that it doesn't look like there's much smoke in here. What about it, Your Honor? If the true culprit escaped into the Launchpad 1 corridor, then that might be recorded on the security footage as well. Then the mystery would be solved. What do you think of my logic? Well, the tape cuts off right after we see the two people, so probably not. Everybody's just... I hope you didn't strain your faculties too much for that, your baldness. I beg your pardon. Look, if we play the security footage beyond this point, it's nothing but fuzz. Oh, it shuts off. Oh my, the footage cuts off. The camera was running on backup power, but apparently the power cables were damaged. Most likely by the after effects of the explosion. There is no footage after this, be it of criminals or space aliens. And I thought it was such a good idea too. Well, you tried. Just because your grandchild is watching from the gallery. It doesn't mean you should try to show off too much. Grandpa Baldness. Prosecutor Blackwell, how did you know about my grandchild? I think his grandchild just learned a little about the harshness of the adult world. Setting aside the issue of grandchildren, I'd like to have the witness continue. Director Cosmos, could you tell us more about when you entered the lounge? Why is he so dizzy? I has been spinning a lot. If I must. Oh nice, we got more of this. Hooray! So I hid to avoid getting shot. After the killer vanished, I went into the lounge. Oh, here we go. Well, that's when Detective Arm appeared from the elevator side door. And then the detective shot me. So you see, the killer could have only escaped to the launch pad, right? Wait, was the door that they went through, was that the elevator door? It probably was, and I was thinking that was a different door entirely. Never mind. Is there anything unexpected with this? Surprised? I mean, you would be surprised if you were being shot at. I think it's more the fact that the intensity of being shot at was less. Like, he was more surprised that Detective Arm appeared, or showed up, than he was at getting shot at. Director Cosmos, why were you so surprised when Detective Arm found you, and again when she fired? Isn't that a bit unnatural? Uh-oh. Sadly, even great men such as myself have ordinary human feelings. Our bodies are bound by the forces of gravity and emotions. Even a great man such as myself experiences surprise on occasion. Yes, I'm sure you do. But my real point is not the fact that you were surprised, but rather what you were surprised by. Pardon me? First, you were surprised when Detective Arm found you in the lounge. And just after that, you were of course again surprised when she shot at you. An understandable reaction. But considering what you were surprised about, a strange phenomenon occurs here. Director Cosmos, what is strange about your surprised reaction is the fact that you were... There we go, not surprised twice, yeah, that's very... that's very strange. You were more surprised when Arm came. Oh, come on. Sure, you were surprised when Detective Arm shot at you. But the surprise you felt when she found you in the lounge was much greater. The fact that you were more surprised by simply being found than by being shot at is a tad suspicious. Hmm? Is he actually the killer? Yeah, I'm getting more and more towards that. Suggests to me that you were conflicted about whatever it is, or whatever it was you were doing there. The enemy has acquired a new weapon. Commence operation, hide under your desk. That's not really hiding. Please tell me I finally sunk his battleship. Noise level 30, there's still more. Boss, I'm getting less discard now. That must mean he really is hiding something about that launchpad door. But what? And whatever he's hiding most likely has something to do with the killer's escape. I wonder what it could be. If he was doing something suspicious around that door... Maybe we can spot some change between before he came to the room and after. Detective Fulbright gave us a photo, taken after the crime. Let's run a comparison. Ah! I instantly noticed it. Instantly. It's right on this photo. Give you a sec, see if you can notice. Yes, as soon as this popped up, I just looked straight at it and I was like, oh, that's what changed. So let's see, this is the footage of the door before Director Cosmos arrived. Yep, there it is. That's why I instantly noticed, because we saw this briefly, like just a second ago. And this is how the door looked after the director entered the lounge. Hey, look at that! There is a change! Something's definitely different. Director Cosmos. What is it? What have you two been up to over there? Finding the answer to what you were doing when Detective Arm found you. That's what. And that answer clearly lies in this footage. All we have to do is compare it to the photo that was taken during the investigation. Don't be ridiculous. If you really do have an answer, you'd have pointed it out already. Why get into that? He's asking for it. This is what changed directly after the incident. Ta-da! Yeah, it changed. Went from being horizontal to vertical. How suspicious. The answer is this knob. That's... Your Honor, please take a look at this footage. Let's see. And focus on the knob. Take a look at the knob next to the launchpad door. As you can see, it's horizontal. Yes, it is, isn't it? Well done. However, when we investigated the scene of the crime yesterday, the knob was vertical. And what does that mean? It means that sometime between before the director arrived and after, someone turned this knob. After the scene was discovered, you were the only one who could have turned the knob. So come on now, Director Cosmos, let's hear what you have to say. What were you trying to do by turning that knob by the door? Fine, I admit it. You're right, I did turn that knob. That knob is a safety lock meant to keep the launchpad in place. I was afraid there would be more explosions, so I wanted to move the launchpad away. You wanted to do what? Hey, didn't Poncho... Is it Poncho? I can't remember if the name is Poncho or Poncho. Tell us something about how they prepared for launch? He said that once the launchpad's fully assembled, it's moved to the launch site. But the safety lock in the boarding lounge has to be disengaged first. I guess that clears up what that knob is for. Oh, so if the killer escaped into the Launchpad 1's corridor, maybe they were transported along with the Launchpad to the launch site. I don't think so. The Launchpad 1 corridor was filled with smoke. I don't think they could have escaped through that corridor. So then, where did the killer escape to? I guess there are still some things we have to uncover. Director Cosmos, I request that you tell us about moving the launchpad in more detail. Fine. But listen carefully, for I'm about to give history-making testimony. Pretty sure you said that every time. I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. I feared there might be more explosions. So I had to cut the launchpad loose. Surely the only escape the killer had was through Launchpad 1. Come on. Jeez. But that area was a sea of smoke. Confound it. Where on earth could they have gone? Right, okay. I think I know the unexpected emotion. It's the one that's the most bizarre in a situation like this. Not that. None of these. But this. Why is he happy about disengaging the safety lock? I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. You make it sound like you were reluctant to do so, but you were actually happy. And yet when you did it, you felt some joy, as if you were very pleased with yourself. How do you do it? How do you know everything as if you were there? Pretty impressive, isn't it? This is the power of analytical psychology. So, care to explain why you felt joy when you disengaged the safety lock? When I think back on the facts we've discovered up to this point, I have to believe that you were trying to fulfill some hidden agenda. How do you know about that, too? Because I'm more or less a pro at guessing. But you have no proof that I had a hidden agenda. And even if I did, I would never ever tell you, so there. I know they say people regress as they grow older, but you, sir, take the cake. And how could you doubt a man with such great intensity, intelligence, and integrity?
Silence!
You, a man of integrity? Don't make me laugh. Prosecutor Blackwell? What came over him all of a sudden? You spouted nothing but falsities since you stepped up to the stand. You're not the kind of man that will be glorified in the annals of history. Not for greatness, anyway. Unless you consider greatest barefaced liar an honour. Liar? Well, that is all you have done. His words bite harder than his blade. Bum 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 bum. You moved Launchpad 1 after the explosions. My, how naive you are. You fail to realise how even the facts themselves have betrayed you. You know, just a thought, but modern English can be your friend. And here's a thought for you. Immediately following the bombing, Launchpad 1 was on the boarding lounge one side. The police confirmed this on the scene. What? Liar? He's still going on about it. So that means the director didn't move the launchpad. Curse my judgment for calling history's greatest liar to the witness stand. Let us leave him to indulge in his lies and war games to his heart's content. A liar! But it doesn't make sense. You can't deny that someone turned that knob. And once the safety lock was released, I'm sure the pad must have went somewhere. If we chase down the truth of this issue, We just might find where the killer escaped to. Bloody hell. You are sure it must have went somewhere? We just might find out? Your arguments are nothing but conjecture, bluffing and wishful thinking. Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is. Or are you not man enough to, boy? Boy. Jesus. You just got called boy. I suppose that's better than old man. Talk about hitting below the belt. Youngins these days. I don't understand it. I'm sure Director Cosmos must have moved the launch pad. The knob was definitely turned after he came to the lounge. But the launch pad is right where it's supposed to be. Wait a minute. Maybe I have it all backwards. What if the director turned the knob not to move the launch pad away, but to bring it back to where it was supposed to be? What are you blathering about? What if the launch pad was at the launch site before the incident? And then after the incident, Director Cosmos moved it back to its usual spot. All he had to do was turn the knob to call the launch pad back. And it would be right where the police found it. Whoa, my hair! You made him sigh like Mr. Starbuck. Was what I said really that off base? It pains me to have to explain how wrong your own logic is to you, however. Our great liar turned the knob only after he discovered the crime scene. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge when our Astro Wonders made their escape. But a fact that has been recorded for posterity on filmless film. Oh, right. So to reiterate... Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is, boy. Not again! Get a grip, Mr. Wright, and focus. We know the launch pad must have been moved, but our deductions and the actual facts of the case are in direct contradiction to each other. Well, maybe the two astronauts never actually boarded the rocket. This footage could be fake, taken with body doubles after the incident or something. On second thought, that's too far-fetched, even for me. Never actually boarded the rocket. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe... Huh? Prosecutor Blackwell, what if I told you that the two astronauts never set foot inside the launch pad area, but instead went into another place? And what if when the director moved the launch pad one back, it was not from the launch site, but from another place? What would you say then? Cut the existential bull, or I'll cut you. Mr. Wright, you will explain yourself at once. I know I'm right. It was all the other way around from the beginning. Very well, Your Honor. Let me explain. I'll be doing this really cool scene. Oh, maybe not. Oh well. So Director Cosmos' reason for moving Launchpad 1 was to... switch it with another place. Oops. Because he wanted to switch it with some other place. I'm sorry, but did you say switch it? What could he possibly have switched the launchpad with? No, you'd be surprised, Your Honor. All it takes is a little thinking outside the box, and the answer becomes clear as day. This is what switched with Launchpad 1. Space Museum... I mean, it's the only thing it could have been. Come on! Ah! Launchpad 1 was switched with the Space Museum? In the past, the Space Museum used to be Launchpad 2. It has all the same features as Launchpad 1, and can even be moved to the launch site. Meaning the Space Museum and Launchpad 1 can also be switched with each other. You can't mean... The rocket the astronauts spotted was not the one in Launchpad 1. Oh! It was the one in the Space Museum. What? Boulder Dash! And yet, it's the only explanation that accounts for every riddle and inconsistency. This is how the Space Center was just before the incident. I see Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum have already switched places. That's right. But with the two switched like this... The astronauts entered the Space Museum from Boarding Lounge 1. This allowed the True Killer to enter Launchpad 1 from Boarding Lounge 2. And set the bomb on the rocket. Come to think of it, the dots at the Space Museum from Boarding Lounge 2... Welcome, welcome! The Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 AM to 7 PM. Exactly. Anyone could pass through the door to the Space Museum. Ah. There is no fingerprint recognition system on the door. Or on that door. In other words, with the two launch pads switched like that, someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb. After setting the bomb on the rocket, the culprit snuck into Boarding Lounge 1 and waited there, concealed, in order to kill Mr. Terran when the two astronauts emerged from the Space Museum. Recall that Miss Blackwell, Mr. Starbuck, and the director all saw a suspicious figure, who we can suppose, after killing Mr. Terran, made their escape into the Space Museum. After that, Director Cosmos switched the two launch pads back, without realizing the killer was inside the Space Museum. Ah. Then the killer then left the Space Museum and made a clean getaway. Right, Dono, I see you know how to handle a sword, and handle it well. Perhaps I should call you Swordmaster Bluff. I'm a seasoned warrior who has cut down many a prosecutor. Well, unless you can prove your theory, it's no better than a rusty sword. That's right, you have no proof I switched the launch pads. Somebody needs a better anger management counsellor. If the launch pads really were switched, there might be a record of it somewhere. I see it. At this point, Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum were switched with each other. If you look on the floor behind the elbow, you can see it's a number 2. Huh. So that was there from the very beginning. So the corridor beyond the door should be the one that belongs to the Space Museum. Let's see, this is an image of the Launchpad 1 corridor. Yep, number 1s. Do you see anything different when we compare it to the security footage? Huh? That number on the floor, god, they really do make it obvious. I do hate how handholdy it gets. I mean, I still love the game, it's just a bit too... Yeah, it kind of just guides you through every choice. You can still get stuff wrong, but they make it really obvious. Well, what do you know? It looks like we have proof after all, Prosecutor Blackwell. And if this is just another bluff... Oh, don't worry, it's all right here. Right in this footage. Proof that beyond this door is the corridor to the Space Museum. Very well then, answer this for me, if you would. What in this footage proves that the corridor belongs to the Space Museum? Give me that nice pointer. This, Your Honor. There's a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. But take a look at the floor of the corridor in the security footage. Do you see the number on the floor behind the astronauts? It doesn't look like a 1, does it? That's because what you see is actually part of a 2. What? Why is it a 2 and not a 1? That's because the corridor you see is the... Oh god, I have a yawn. Oh, pardon me. That came out of nowhere. It was like a sneeze. That's because the corridor you see is the one to the Space Museum. Oh yeah! And so that means... the corridor in this footage was not filled with smoke. That's right, because the explosion didn't occur in the Space Museum. The explosion occurred in Launchpad 1, on the side opposite to the... opposite the Space Museum. And now that we know the 2 astronauts escaped from the Space Museum, the mystery from that previous trial of how they got down the ladder is cleared up. Mr. Terran carrying Mr. Starbuck simply took the elevator from the upper level down to the middle level. Just incredible. The 2 launch pads were actually switched. Well, you'd think someone would have noticed an event of this magnitude. Everyone was down in the basement shelter when the launch pads were swapped back. There's no way anyone could have known what was happening on the surface. Hey! Ba-bum. Hey, what we do? Oh, right. Bye-bye! No more lies, Director Cosmos. It's high time you told us the truth. Bloody hell. My honor, my glory, everything is slipping away. Time to deploy my ultimate weapon. Galactic machine. Ignition. What? It's gone haywire. It won't stop. My stars, my glory. This is one hell of a breakdown, Jesus. Oh. No, not that way. Oh my god. That was one hell of a breakdown. Ah dear. But Bailiff, on your steed and after that witness. We're gonna have him back. Huh? There he is! He looks rather sorry for himself. I see we managed to retrieve you before you came to any bodily harm. Director Cosmos, do you admit you switched the launch pads? I admit it's true. I switched Launchpad 1 for the Space Museum. It is good to hear words I can believe for a change. Before you do, Your Honor, 2 things. First, we don't know if Mr. Terran had prior knowledge of the switch. As for Mr. Starbuck, he was unaware of his surroundings thanks to his medication. Either way, Mr. Terran would have realized the instant he stepped into the Space Museum that it had been switched with Launchpad 1. So my first question is, if the Space Museum was perfectly fine, why did Mr. Terran feel the need to put on such a dramatic display? As for my second question, I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the 2 launch pads to begin with. Please, I can't. I exercised my right to remain silent, but I will say my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could do, or what I could, to keep my men from getting caught in that blast. Wait, what? The director is terrified. He must have one heck of a reason for not wanting to explain why. Probably not a good time to try to pry it out of him, huh? Excuse me, but would you mind if I picked up my stars? Without my badge of rank, I'm nothing. I don't see why not. Bailiff, help the director retrieve his stars. Okay. It appears the possibility of a culprit other than the defendant has presented itself. Mr. Starbuck, is there anything you wish to say? I don't get it. Don't get it? What don't you get? Director, why did you do all that? From the very beginning, you never meant for the launch to go ahead, did you? You tricked us. Mr. Starbuck. Starbuck, my boy. I'm sorry. I can't tell you the reason why. But I had to do it to protect the Space Center. Director, will I ever get the chance to go into space again? Huh. Yes, of course. I won't rest until it happens. I will get you into space again, my boy. Then the dream is still alive. Hey!
Silence!
Oh, not. Way to ruin the mood. You're not going into space, Starbuck. But prison. I won't have it any other way. Why are you so hung up on him? Yes, I accept that the launch pads really were switched. And if there were a third person at the scene, I suppose they could have escaped. But I have yet to see proof of this third person's escape via the Space Museum. Oh, that's a good point. He's right. I don't have any proof. Starbuck, you will spill everything you know. Oh god. What? Me? Where did you get those bombs? Tell me now. If you don't, my blade shall feast on your blood. If I'm going to die, I want to die in space. I have to do something. Solomon Starbuck. Prepare yourself. What the hell is happening? Oh. Well, there we go. Fulbright to save the day. Now. You know violence isn't the answer, Prosecutor Blackwell. That annoyingly cheerful laugh. It can be none other than... Fulbright. Hey! Butchin! Champion of righteousness, Bobby Fulbright here. In justice we trust. Detective Fulbright. Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Lawyer. I hope I'm not too late. I don't believe we had an appointment. I tried to hurry, but I ended up helping a little old lady cross the street. And then I had to break up a cat fight. I tell you, justice sure is a full-time job. Was it a fight between cats, or... Why are you here again? Because the defendant isn't the culprit. I came to make sure that justice is served.